Yo, Brandon McDonald, I practice sometimes. It's kind of boring though. Anyway, I'm going to talk about how to practice for bow hunting, and I get a lot of people who say, hey, Dan, I understand the physics, and I understand that the energy's delivered down range is higher with heavier sticks, but what if the animal takes the 2 steps you might miss? Wow! Hang on. Okay, a lot of people spend a lot of time pounding away at known distances with a range finder. It's springtime, 3D season's coming up, and you're not going to be shooting known distance, or you're going to be shooting mostly known distance. A little bit about sight pins. If you have multiple sight pins, they are set for 5 or 6 or 7 exact distances. In between those pins, no matter how heavy your arrow weighs, 200 grains or 2,000 grains, between each pin is about 5 yards if you got them set up in 10-yard increments. If you do it different, figure out the math. But the middle between 2 pins is halfway. That's pretty straightforward. In a hunting situation, it would be nice if all the animals would walk out to an exact distance that you knew and just stand there and go like right there and have a spot sprayed on their side so you could shoot at it, but that doesn't happen a lot. When an animal moves in the woods and you are at full draw, or you laser or some situation, a bull elk chasing a cow or something like that, and he takes 5 steps and you're at full draw, you are not gonna re-laser. I mean, if you're that disciplined, you drop the bow down, re-laser, good on you. But there's going to be situations where he's going in the brush, things are happening, this is the only shot you got, it goes through a hole, but he steps back and goes on the wrong trail and you've lasered, and it may be estimated 6 or 7 yards further. I don't care what arrow you're shooting, you're an idiot if you lasered some distance and the animal's further away and you hold for that distance, praying to God that the arrow will not continue to drop, because arrows are always slowing down. This is a fact. You're gonna want to hold a little higher and guesstimate where to hit them. Sorry. In a perfect world, they'd all stand still and we'd have a laser and we'd know the exact distance. I've got that, but it's super unrealistic to think that every shot you take 100% of the time, you're going to know how far it is. Before we show you what I think about practicing with a bow and arrow, I want to talk a little bit about 3D and proper form and stuff you never do when you're hunting. But it's cool to do when you're shooting 3D, so hang on. Okay, the first thing you got to do when you show up at the 3D range, you got to turn your hat backwards, or you got to wear a flat brim. Whichever way that is, you got to start talking some trash. My bow's so fast, it'll shoot 100 yards flat. I don't even have to hold off. This thing's the fastest bow. Woo, woo. Start talking big trash about how fast the bow is, not how bare shaft tuning works, or you've made sure your arrows are nock tuned, make sure that your ammunition that's flying down range, that you've done any of that. None of that matters. It just matters you'd say, God, it's fast. I can hold on dead hold to 40. Woo! Don't even need a rangefinder. That's your first step. The next thing that no one does in the woods for proper form on every shot, you got to find your shot cycle. And a shot cycle means all the wiggling around you do before you release the arrow. It's as bad as the 9 practice swings in golf, and then you chunk the shot. And you say, I don't know what happened. I just say you suck. Just whip it. When I play golf, I just swing. I'm worried about it. Practice swings never seem to work. So what you do is you get your arrow and you put her on there and make a big show of it. Kind of got to get a cleansing breath, right? That's backwards. You look at the target. Look. No, that's no good. I don't think that was right. It's a good thing my rangefinder's got tenths of a yard on it, because that's how accurate I am. You got to say stuff like that. And then you get it. You got to make some show, kind of loosen up shoulders, you know. And then this is key. When you draw your bow and arrow, you just pull her back, and then you got to settle in. You got to really get settled like you are the man. And you got to check that little corner. And then don't miss the bow flip. I'm going to back up here. This is essential for 3D. You get the wiggle going, okay? You got to get the bow flip. So you go like this. You go, oh yeah. You settle in, kind of shake a little bit. Oh, try to jump out of my hands. And then you got to get the bow flip. You got to do that. If you don't get the bow flip when you shoot in 3D, you pretty much are going to be ostracized by everybody, and they're making fun of you. They're going to post on social media that you don't know how to bow flip and stuff, and it's terrible. So backwards hat, a lot of wiggling, some cleansing breath. Really settle into that peep sight. I mean, really bury your face in there, and then you got to get the bow flip. I have yet to see any of that while hunting. So we're throwing all that stuff out for hunting. But when you shoot in 3D, you got to do that. So somehow that's the thing to do for 3D. But in a hunting situation, I pretty much see people pull their bow back, shoot, and go, wow! So all that technique and stuff, it's poser stuff. I'm gonna go get my arrow. That's an elk on the ground. Target, 3D target, right? I don't know. 30 yards away. See that brown spot? That's a deer target. 35 or 40. A little uphill. Right there, pronghorn antelope. 25 yards, a little uphill. See what I'm getting at? So the thing about that is, we had a big elk target, had, I don't know, 30, 40 yards. Got two targets that are a little uphill. And when you're hunting things that walk around in the woods, they might go uphill or downhill, which changes the way the arrow impacts the target. Uphill shots tend to hit a little low. Downhill shots tend to hit a little high. But you got to practice that stuff. If you're one of these flat earth people who thinks Newton's an idiot and physics don't happen and gravity's not really, doesn't exist, yeah, he's sorry. You can't make fun of people anymore who believe crazy stuff. That's fine, because we're all sensitive and things. But just go shoot some uphill and downhill targets, and you'll find out that you need to hold off a little bit for that. That's not the point of this. I'm about to show you the solution. All right, so you go out to the local range where you shoot all the time, and you're a damn genius because the targets don't move around that much, and you know the distance of 40 targets. So every time you shoot them, by imprinting and consistently using the same targets, you get better. That doesn't happen when you're hunting deer. Plus, you're not as excited, and you've had a lot of warm-up shots. So what you do is, you got our elk target. You take out your laser, and you laser the distance. And let's say that distance right there is, it looks like it's about 35 yards. Then you take 7 steps back. How's it going? Oh, hey man. Texas Parks and Wildlife is here. Hey, I've got to talk to this fine gentleman first. All right, typical of me. Took my jacket off, so I'm still in the same place. Got hot. Tomorrow's gonna be 26 degrees. Today it's gonna be 80. That's Texas. So what you're gonna do is, I'm standing here. Elk is right up there. Take your laser. And it says 34 yards from right here. You get your bow, and you know this is 34. Walk back 5 or 6 steps and shoot that shot, okay? Knowing what that distance was and spitballing the distance between there and that shot. 200 grain arrow or 2,000 grain arrow, This is a very practical way to practice for bow hunting. It really amazes me that people are so weird and act like when they're hunting, everything is a known distance and you never ever have to gap shoot. So let me reiterate, if you have a 5-pin sight, you've got 5 distances that are known, and in between the 2 pins is halfway. So you have, 9 or 10 distances that are known, and the rest of it's still kind of a guesstimate. 37, 42.5, You're still holding off. So what you do is, like I said, just walk up at a known distance, use your laser, and then arbitrarily walk back whatever distance and practice that, because that's very realistic. So this idea that shooting a heavy arrow increases your chance if the animal moves is absolutely ridiculous, because the animal moved. And if you think you're going to hold the pin, I lasered at 33 and took 7 steps back, I will not dead hold at 33 knowing I walked backwards, or the animal. That simulates the animal walking away from you. You're going to hold a little higher. So why don't you practice that stuff in case this dynamic situation called bow hunting happens? And this is one of the greatest weaknesses of shooting 3D. I really believe we become more, overconfident in our skills on some of the really long shots and stuff. TAC's so super fun. It's a great deal. Lots of people show up. It's great for the bow hunting. I'm not knocking the tournaments. I am. So you sit out here and plunk away at 3D all summer, and you start to get overconfident in what you can do because you stand in one spot and gap shoot it because you lasered it at 42 or whatever, okay? When you're practicing. During the tournaments, I don't know anything about those. So some of them use light rangefinders. I don't know. I don't care. But when you're just practicing for bow hunting, laser, walk back 5, walk back 7, walk back 10 steps. Elk have kind of long legs. A rutting deer can move pretty fast, and pigs are annoying. When they decide to move, they move 10 yards. They never stand still. They're just wiggling all the time. And you're going to face these situations where you need to have an idea of how much drop is going to happen should the animal move, and you have to estimate the range. Or if you have the discipline to constantly let down and relaser, I'm okay with that. It's just going to reduce your effectiveness at shooting live animals because you're going to lose some shots that you could have taken if you practiced like this. Will you be more accurate if you let down every time and relaser if they move? You will. Will the animal move from one spot, you let down, move to another, you relaser, draw, and he'll move again? He will. She will. It's just bow hunting, and it's much more dynamic than some piece of foam stand out there. But this is a very practical way to practice for those dynamic situations, and it doesn't matter how fast the arrow is, because every one of them drops. So whatever you're shooting, you need to know what it'll do should the animal move. All right, you can do whatever you want to with that. My wife's grandfather always used to say, I'm going to tell you something, you just go do whatever the hell you want to do after that. This is kind of like that. Hey, I'm the Ranch Fairy. You can subscribe if you want to. I don't really care if you do, but there's pretty good information on my channel. And there'll be fishing and hunting and stuff. I'm going to fish a lot this spring. Start out punting, and some new toys coming. My partnership with Sirius. New toys. Just stay tuned.